It says I'm live on Facebook. Let's check it out. I am so not good at this. So let's see if we're live on Facebook. Before I, completely dive into our ultimate power hour, I want to make sure that I'm in the right place, that I'm streaming in the right place. So I'm going to go check it out and see if I'm where I need to be. Groups. Here we are, over 40. And there I am. So I'm live streaming. Yay! I am not always successful in this, guys. So, wow. I'm excited. I did it. It wasn't my first try. It was the second one. So big wins for me. If you don't know me, my name is Tricia Parido, and I consider myself to be the habit dropping coach. I am also a recovery lifestyle enthusiast and a professional life coach, along with an array of other, titles that I just don't feel are super necessary. But I do want you to know that I am an effective life skill breather, and I eat, sleep, and breathe everything that I teach or that I coach. And I believe 100% in sharing my gifts, my golden nuggets, those things that are, proving day after day, week after week, month after month, year after year to be extremely effective, not only in my life, but in the lives of the people that I do work with directly through my system, my program, which is through Turning Leafs Recovery, Life, and Wellness Coaching, and the Live Free system. So without further ado, we are here to talk about that negative internal dialogue, those loops and reels that, from what I understand, some people maybe didn't understand what those were. They were like, hey, what's a mental reel? What do you mean by a loop? Like, I don't understand that. So that would look like that dialogue that just, it boils up and it just keeps spiraling and spiraling. So it's like having conversations with yourself about the fact that you're having a conversation with yourself about needing to stop having these conversations with yourself. Like, a lot of times they sound like, I'm presuming that this person thinks, feels, or believes this way about me. And instead of asking them, I'm going to play over and over and over again in my head a series of communications or dialogues or whatever that we may or may not have, until I've just got myself all worked up into a whatever self-serving, self-preserving stance I need to be in, right? So instead of simply going and saying, hey, my perception of how you feel about me is A, B, or C. Is that accurate? Right? So we have these mental reels, these loops, and they get to be super overwhelming, and they look and sound, completely different depending upon the situation, which you're gonna get what I mean by situations and categories that come and that we really need to acknowledge, because it is very broad, but it isn't very broad. So if you are somebody that in your life feels unheard, undervalued, devalidated, or not validated, or devalued in your life, you need to be asking yourself why. Where did that come from? Where is this stemming from? How did I come to this conclusion? But we also want to look at a series of other things that generally are attached to those. But first, I want you to take a look at and write down. I want you to write down. So if you don't have a pen and a paper, sorry, I tend to just jump right into the task at hand. And I am going to pull up some worksheets that you will have the opportunity to request copies of. But for now, I'd like for you to have a piece of paper and a pen in front of you. So I want you to ask yourself, what are those things outside of me that I rely on to give me peace, to comfort me in times of distress? What are those go-to mechanisms that I have that I use for self-soothing? Where am I seeking validation? Am I seeking to be validated by something or someone outside of myself? So I'll give you a few for instances. You have a long, stressful week, or we'll just go with day, because you know what, anymore, even today, like I thoroughly wasn't expecting a whole lot of people to make it today, because when I booked this, I didn't look at the calendar to realize that this is a big day in the United States. There's a lot of things going on. In fact, you know what, we have our new president and he's come aboard. So, you know, I know that there are much bigger things going on than me in the world today. And so anyway, I digress. So I want you to be looking at, you know, we had, you know, okay, so I got up this morning and I was in a really great mood, and I set my intention for the day, and I went buzzing along, and derailing thing after derailing thing after derailing thing happened to where, you know, my life just spiraled out of control. And here I am at the end of the day feeling stressed, burned out, used, abused, neglected, whatever it is, right? Whatever adjective we use to describe that. And so you know what, I just need a glass of wine. Or, you know what, maybe we're feeling irritated, agitated, annoyed, frustrated, and gosh darn it, I'm just so fit to be tied, I need a smoke. Or I'm feeling lonely, I'm feeling bored, I'm feeling unfulfilled. I need retail therapy. I need to go shopping. Or I have this big event coming up. I need that suit so that I look the part that I'm trying to portray. Or I'm feeling so lonely, so isolated, so just unpurpose filled. That's not a word. It's not a good word, but it's what came out. And I'm feeling empty. And I think I just want to eat. And so I'm going to go and I'm going to have this ice cream. I'm feeling super sad. I'm going to have these brownies, and I'm not going to have just one. You notice I said I'm going to have this ice cream. I'm going to have these brownies, right? Like we're talking, you know, I'm going to eat until I feel full, because I like to feel full. It's comforting for me, right? So any of those things outside of you, right? Like my husband didn't even acknowledge the way that I redecorated our room. Like he didn't even mention it. He didn't even act like he saw it. My husband didn't tell me I did a good job at XYZ. My husband didn't say thank you. My kids take me for granted. You know, they don't say thank you, whatever it is, right? People, places, things. What are you looking for or towards to give you what it is you feel like you're missing? Because if you're feeling, in fact, I'm going to pull up this sheet. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen right now, because I think that it's super important. And I think it'll be super helpful for us to be able to have this. Why? Share my screen. Bear with me, folks. Share my screen. The button's not working. Anyway, once it decides to wake up, because, you know, I do live in a rural area, so sometimes things are a little slower than I would like them to be. I'm going to share with you what it is specifically that I'm, you know, some of the things that I'm referring to, because it's, you know, it's easy for me, and I'm sure it's much easier for you to follow along, right? Is I'm feeling invisible, invalid, unheard, a lacking self-worth. My self-esteem feels trapped. I'm hiding behind doing for others, right? Like I'm wanting that validation, that perceived value that I offer in the world to be witnessed through what I do for others. I avoid quiet time because you know what, I don't like what I have to sit with in here. I'm always needing to be busy or seen as such. I'm feeling super isolated. I long for what others have. I'm focusing on what isn't right in my life. Emotional sensitivities at an extreme. Irritability about just about everything is just getting under my skin. Agitation, unnecessary outbursts just seem to be happening more and more. The frustration is just making me want to bolt. Like I just want to run. I want to get out of my skin. I want to break down all the walls, right? Like I just want to bolt. Perhaps we're dragging that past around with us and even ruminating and wallowing in the things that we have previously survived. So this is what's feeding those mental reels, that overthinking. But then we have to face our fear of change and our fear of failure, because what's creating that inability to fulfill these things for ourselves, right? So if we're looking at like all of these bullet points, bullet point after bullet point after bullet point of things that don't feel right, that aren't sitting right, that are actually, reasons why I'm feeling unheard, undervalued, and devalued and whatnot, right? This is what perpetuates it. And so let me tell you, what saved my life. And what saved my life was Julian Rotter's locus of control theory. Now, there's a whole lot of other things that went into it, but conceptually, from a theoretical standpoint, the locus of control theory explains absolutely everything that I've talked to in this first 13 minutes, right? And it's that seeking of things outside of us to make our life look, feel, and be the way that we want it to. We are waiting for people, powers above us, the powers that be, to change the world. We are waiting for, our boss to, correct a situation. Anything you look at, we are always waiting. We're complaining. I call it piss, bitching, and moaning. But anyway, we're always complaining about those things that don't match what our thoughts, feelings, emotions, opinions, and beliefs are. And we just sit around complaining about it. Instead of what? Leading by the example in which we wish to experience our environment. And this goes across the board for everything. So I need to stop waiting around and wondering why I feel unvalued in my life at home. I have to stop wandering around wondering why I'm not getting the external validation from my spouse, my boss, my coworkers, my clients, my whatever it is. I have to stop wondering why those things aren't coming in. And I have to I have to lead by that example. If I want to receive the gift of acknowledgement, I have to be giving acknowledgement freely. So for any of you that are here, I commend you. I acknowledge you for no matter what showing up today, even if it is just to hear the message. I commend you for being here, because this is deep, important work that I know a lot of people don't understand, nor do a lot of people feel comfortable showing up in the rooms that I open up. And I get that. I understand, because I talk about the stuff that most people would rather avoid acknowledging, right? So we're talking about those external things that we keep relying on false hope for to give us relief, right? The alcohol, the cigarettes, the pot, the shopping, the acknowledgement from somebody else, the praise from somebody else, the change to come from somebody else, right? And we just get in this habitual loop of being addicted to all of these things. And we have to break that cycle. And in order to do that, we have to master the drop, which means drop it altogether. drop the concept that you need any of that. If you say I need in front of something, you better truly need it. Like, I have like a severely high fever, I need to go get, medical assistance. Like, sure, that's a need, but we don't ever need a glass of wine. We don't ever need a cup of coffee. We don't ever need caffeine. We don't ever need sugar. We don't ever need, impulsive shopping, right? Like, there's things we need to buy because we need to feed and fuel our body, but we do not need the brownies ever. There are so many things that we could put in there. So if we have a need, and it is followed by an external source that's going to provide us the relief for this need, we got to do some work. We got to do some work. So that work, because I think you guys get where I'm coming from. And if you've raised your hand inside your own mind, in your own heart, in your own soul, in that intuitive space that says, wow, she's right. You know what? I feel like I need to go to the gym, because if I don't go to the gym, I immediately feel 5 pounds overweight. And then I look at myself and I go, ew, yuck, I look miserable, right? Because you can have the wrong relationship with your fitness routine as well. If you're constantly in a perpetual fad diet, this is an issue. We want to create a lifestyle that is lifelong, manageable, and maintainable. And if my camera's glitching, I just want to apologize in advance. Hopefully the audio will be fine, and I'm just going to glitch because I'm seeing glitches on my end. Anyway, we want lifelong, manageable, and maintainable lifestyles. That's it. And in order to do that, we have to first be willing to live for ourselves first without feeling guilty or selfish. And we need to release ourselves from all of these need, habit, addictions, whatever, negative attachments, whatever coin phrase works for you. Because I truly believe that addiction and recovery touches a much broader population than what society's vision as a whole has it look like, because it's not just for the down and ill. It's for the highly functioning as well. So we all need to recover from our negative attachments. We all need to be able to drop habits. I don't even care if it can be coined as a healthy habit. If it's a habit because you're calling it a need, you've got to change the relationship with that. So in order to do that, so how do I change that relationship? How do I make it sound better? So first we got to learn how to live for ourselves first, which requires a couple of things. And so I'm going to share my screen again, but first I want to change the screen, and I'm going to give you a few things for you to work on, some things that will be extremely helpful and beneficial for you to dive into and start really getting to some of your root causes or some of your issues, but also just to give you that capability of being able to categorize and make it bite-sized pieced, right? Because we have a tendency to take on more than we need to. So I'm going to share my screen one more time, and maybe more than one more time, but it's being slow. Here we go. Okay, so when I'm talking about different categories and whatnot, I want you to write these things down, because this is where you want to think about truly getting to know yourself and really identifying those behaviors, patterns, actions, whatever those things are that you're doing. Like, I've listed out all kinds of examples, but guess what? No two people are alike, and the not so normal faces of addiction look different depending upon the person, right? So I want you to think about identifying your behaviors, your patterns, your actions, the things that you are doing that are seeking or need from a need mentality and or habitually driven, right? What are the 3 things? Think about these behaviors in these 6 different categories. So your physical health, your social health, your emotional health, your environmental health. And when I say environmental health, I'm talking about, yes, it's important to contribute to the wellness of the planet that we live on and all creatures there in it. But it's also equally important that we think about our environment with respect to the people, places, and things in which we surround ourselves or submerge ourselves in. So when I'm talking about environmental health, I'm primarily talking about that. So when we're doing our initial assessment, when, at Turning Leaves, we are looking at your relationship in these 6 categories. So the physical health, social health, emotional health, environmental health, spiritual health, and intellectual health. So your relationship with yourself. What are these behaviors, the patterns, the actions, the things that you're doing? And I want you to take some time and write down the top 3 positive attributes for each of those categories. So the top 3 things you feel the best about. 100%. I feel great about these, like physical health. My top 3 best attributes are, my relationship with my dietary practices, the fuel in which I give my body, and the level of respect that I give my vessel. That for me are the top 3 positive attributes for me in my physical health category. That may not be at all what yours are, but that gives you an example of how it can be more than just physical exercise related. So there's that. So you want to go through each of these 6 categories. And I realize on this sheet that, I don't really give the space for that, but I want you to go through and write the top 3 positive attributes for each of those 6 categories. And then I want you to get real honest with yourself. And I want you to write the top 3 aspects that you criticize or feel negatively about for each of these 6 categories, right? So social health, if you criticize yourself with regard to social events and it sounds like, I just, I'm headed into this event and I feel uncomfortable. I feel like everybody is just so much more intelligent or worldly than I am, and I get really nervous. And so I criticize myself for my intellect. And, maybe, I don't know. So maybe you criticize yourself for your intellect, and then hint, hint, it's followed by, I'll just have a glass or 2 of wine to take the edge off. But anything that you criticize yourself or feel negatively about yourself, I want you to get down and dirty, and I want you to be super honest and write down the top 3 aspects for each of those 6 categories. And then I would love, love, love for you to dig even deeper and be honest with yourself and tell yourself what you truly aspire, not goals. Goals are rigid. Goals like, hey, if you can kick it between these 2 posts, you'll get a point. If not, you fail. Like I'm not all about that, right? Like I'm not all about that. This is a lifelong, like I said, I eat, sleep, breathe this stuff all day, every day. Everything that I teach, everything that I share, everything that I present, just know that I eat, sleep, breathe it. And I teach it to absolutely everybody, but I also do so with every single category and aspect of my life. It's not like you just go through the curriculum once and you're done. You just then now know how to go back through it and apply it to other things in your life. Anyway, I don't want to get sidetracked. The top 3 aspirations that you have for yourself going forward. Aspirations. So for me, I'm going to say, which one do I want to choose? For my intellectual health, I want to deepen my aspiration is to bring my research capabilities to recordable level or reportable level. So in other words, I would aspire to create a study on the things that I know and believe wholeheartedly, but have not taken the time to put together a true test case that would be like, say, white paper issue. Anyway, that was probably not the best example. But in my industry, you know, being able to, because I am, anyway, I digress again. You get the idea. Top 3 aspirations that you would have in each of those categories. And then you want to ask yourself, what is the long game, right? So that's that aspiration, right? So there you go. What's the long game? What's the short game? What's that mean? That means walking yourself backward, connecting the dots and going, okay, here are each short game. Like, here's the stepping stones. This is what I need to do to get my momentum going. What is my motivation? Is my motivation for my own self-worth, my own validation, my own personal evaluation of me? Or is it for external reward? And you know, if I feel like I achieve or attain this certain thing, then they'll see me. I mean, because if your goal is to be seen by somebody, you know, or your aspiration is to be seen by somebody, you got to work on being seen by yourself, which means every single step of the way, you wholeheartedly are invested in you and your why and your what and your how, and you're not going to waver just because somebody doesn't agree. You're going to inquire at a deeper level. Well, help me understand why you don't understand why this is important to me, right? Or whatever it is. And these are all tactics that you have to go with this, but I'm just, you know, I'm just sharing the way that I know how. And then you need to identify what might be obstacles. So this is what I consider to be effective anticipation. Effective anticipation keeps you out of the future tripping, and anxiety-inducing uncertainty, right? So if we're future tripping, we're so far out there that we can only see the end spot, and we can't see the forest from the trees because we just want to get there, and because we want instant gratification. Everybody wants it now. Just because I've spoke it to existence, we think it's going to happen. And let me tell you something. We can try manifesting and manifesting and manifesting, and we speak it and we say it out loud. And yes, there's value and validity and all of that, but you still got to do the walk. You cannot sit still on your couch and will something to happen, right? Unless it's, I want to weigh 25 pounds more and be able to sit right here in this spot and not be in motion at all and attain that, whatever it is, right? Anyway, that was a little harsh, sorry. But you get the idea. So I need to do some effective anticipation, keep myself from future tripping, anxiety-inducing uncertainty, and really acknowledge what my obstacles might be. And those generally are coming from where? In here, based on past experiences, because we're still trudging around, carrying around all of the things, the negative attachments and you know, negative stimuli or input that we've received from others, et cetera, all of these past things that we've clearly survived because we're still standing and breathing, but we want to drag them around with us instead of go, where's the lesson? Let me put the lesson on the shelf and throw the rest of it away because it doesn't serve me anymore. I'm here today. I'm not 10 years ago, right? Like I used to be 20. I'm not 20 anymore. Like I can't ever go back to that 20-year-old stamina, body, I don't know, less wrinkles and none of that. Anyway, and then we have to look at what strategy might I use, right? Those steps. Do I have them in the right order? Do I need support? Do I need help? Do I need guidance? If so, what might that look like? We've got to create a strategy. And then what is my reward going to be? And I strongly suggest that you reward yourself frequently and often. And the best reward is acknowledgement. Give yourself that pat on the back, call it out at the end of every day. Wow, I nailed it today. This went so good. And this is why this went so good. How can I use this in other places? What skill sets and tactics can I attach in other areas to help breed more of this forward moving momentum? Now you do want to stop at, what didn't go as well as I had hoped. Why? Trash what didn't work, make some adjustments, and keep moving forward. We don't want to dwell, ruminate, or wallow. And we don't want to become dependent on something that doesn't work. That's the definition of insanity. And then when you get to what didn't work, because it's always last, because we want to keep it small, we just go, okay, it didn't work. Why? What lesson do I need to learn? Cool beans, shelf the lesson, trash the rest, right? So in a nutshell, we want to always ask yourself these questions. Are my goals attainable? Are my rewards satisfying? Do I have enough support? Do I have the right motivation? And what is driving my need for change? If it's not coming from in here, we got some work to do, right? Because if we want social change to happen, if we don't like some things that are going on in the world and society with human kindness, with humanity, like we've got to look inside. We have to change from within here. We've got to get out of that stance of a judger, quit pointing our fingers, get into the stance of a learner. Make sure that every step, every breath, every comment, every thought that we have is from that stance of a learner and in line of leading by the example in which I wish to experience myself. This is the way I want to see me, thereby the way I want to be seen by others. It's also the way that I want to be treated by others. And then I'm going to teach my children. I'm going to help, I'm going to, my husband. So within my own home, these things are going to be changing. And then in my own community, in my own city, state, whatever, change has to come from within. We have to be working our way out. So do I have that right motivation? Now, this bottom part, if you do get a hold of this worksheet, of course, this is for members, before, sharing, but you can always request to join the app, the Turning Leaves app. I'll send you a link and you're more than welcome to pop in there and join us on the app. I'll also be giving you my V card at the end on the Facebook page. I'm going to put in the comments. Every single way you can follow me, get in touch with me, ask me a question, call me, text me, I don't know, schedule your free gift will be in there, yada, yada. But, this particular prompt was for my weekly live skill set group that is held on Mondays. So there's the first part of the work, right? Now we want to be getting into our intuition, our intuitive mindset. And what I mean by that is so much of everything that we've been talking about, right? If you haven't caught on that I'm bringing up that may or may not be how you're operating is emotionally charged, right? So emotional mindset, I'm operating in my emotion mind, or we're overly rationalizing our why we need this, blah, 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 right? But what we want to do is we want to combine the two and we want to bring it together and get into this space. It's our intuitive mindset. That means we are operating from a place of a true, genuine knowing that with the very next step, with the very next breath I take, I am going to be matching my personal integrity, right? Like I'm leading from that place. And so my thoughts, my feelings, my emotions, opinions, my beliefs, my actions, my dreams, my desires going forward are all going to be in alignment with intuitively what I know. Now that intuition does grow, change, morph as we move along, because the more we learn, the more skill sets we acquire and attain, the more we drop habits, the more we get rid of the needs, the more we are seeking external validation and approval and acknowledgement, the less our mental reels and feelings of being unheard, undervalued, and dismissed will happen. Anyway, it's a whole big, gigantic I don't know, it's like a snowball. It just keeps growing and growing and growing and growing and growing. Again, I eat, sleep, breathe this. And over the last 8 years, it just keeps getting bigger and bigger and touching more aspects of my life, right? So last thing I want to share with you, oops, I don't want to do that yet. I want to go here. The last thing that I want to share with you before getting ready to wrap it up and wind it down is the rest of that first worksheet that I pulled up with all of those like bullet pointing things that most people show up at my doorstep experiencing and wanting to get over. So when you get to this worksheet, if you reach out and you request one, again, I'm primarily talking to people that this message is speaking to, who really want to get a handle on these things, right? So in this top part, this is for making the shift, right? This is committing to yourself. And these are many of the characteristics that, if not most of the characteristics that myself and my clients have all battled or are battling right now. And again, as you can see at the top, it's either still active, in progress, improved, or did not apply, right? Because if it did not apply ever, then okay. But otherwise, it falls into one of those three categories. You want to look at and score each one of these things. Am I having these mental reels? Am I constantly, when I lay my head down on the pillow at night, does the reel keep playing, right? Am I thinking and thinking and thinking and thinking and I cannot go to sleep? Is that an active thing? Is it in progress? Like, is it, sometimes better, sometimes not? Is this something that I've overcome? So that would be improved. If it doesn't apply to you, you sleep like a baby, great. Hopefully it's not, chemically induced. Then the overthinking, right? That's you're going about your day and you really want to approach your spouse about something and you're overthinking it, right? Like you've played out so many scenarios in your head and it's all, back and forth, and you're answering for him and you're formulating all of these perceptions and opinions about how he's going to think and feel about it. Maybe it's a friend, or maybe it's a colleague, or even maybe it's your child. I don't know. But that overthinking. And then there's that fear of change. Like, I don't know what it would look like if I let go of this habit, this need, this whatever. I'm not saying I have to get rid of things. I mean, within reason, some things need to go away altogether, but not everything needs to go away. But if it's a habit or it's a need, we need to change that relationship. You're giving your power away. Anyway, fear of change. Like, I want to go for this promotion, whatever it is. You understand the concept. We're all grown-ups here. Fear of failure. Fear of being feeling invisible, feeling invalid, feeling unheard, a lacking sense of self-worth, a trapped self-esteem. Like, I'm trapped in this role. I adopted this role, and now guess what? My self-esteem is trapped in how good of a wife, mother, housekeeper, CEO of our abode, right? That's it. Like, I'm trapped. That self-esteem is in there. I have zero idea what I like to do for recreation. I have no hobbies. I don't feel like I have many social skills, and those social skills that I do have, fall into that mommy role, right? Because it's just always been that way since the kids were little, so on and so forth. That hiding behind doing for others, I'm too busy. I hear people all the time and I'm like, look, these shifts take 1 hour a day. 1 hour a day of committing to yourself to make some shifts so that gets better. You can't say you don't have time. I don't care if you're full-time working and taking care of the kids. You have an hour to give to yourself. If not, you are not functioning to your highest capabilities, and you are not giving your family the best version of you, and they deserve better. And so do you. Anyway, isolation, longing for what others have. Right? If you are looking at like, wow, that mom, she's got it all together. She has a full career, she has it all together. Yeah, whatever it is. And you're like, wow, I want to feel like I see her. I want to feel like I perceive her to be. That's great if you know how to go after that. And it's a lot of work, but it can be done. Anyway, So you see this list, right? You want to go in there and score yourself, whether this is something that is very active that you're trying to work on, and maybe getting a little bit of momentum, or maybe you've done a lot of work and it's improved. Give yourself that pat on the back. And if it's not something that you struggle with, acknowledge that also. Wow, I'm super grateful that that hasn't been something that I've had to struggle with in my life, right? Then you want to break it down. Because if somebody says to me, I feel unheard, I'm going to ask them, where? That's very broad, right? We can't say, I feel unheard, I feel dismissed. Where? And so a lot of times they'll show up and say, I feel completely, undervalued at home. My family, they don't value me. In fact, they dismiss me. They don't do what I say. They don't pitch in. They don't help. They don't say thank you. I'm just a glorified housekeeper, errand runner, and taxi cab driver. And this is how I feel. So sure, that's with my family. But, is it all of your family? Does your spouse make you feel that way? Or is it just the children? Is it all of the children, or is it just one of the children? Does it extend out from your home? Does your sister make you feel that way? Because if we think about it, every time you pick up the phone and it's your sister on it, does it start with, hey sis, can you help me with, right? Like, I don't know. We want to look at all of that. We want to say, break it down. It has to be, it's an active process. You need to dig deep and really look at where the issues truly reside. And you need to make note of every single individual place. So it's at home with my immediate family. It's also with my extended family, parents and siblings. It's not at work with my supervisors and coworkers. It's not in my social circle, but my one friend really does that with me, and so on and so forth, right? Like, be very specific. And then step number 3, you want to know very specifically, again, who, what, and where you will need to identify what you can shift and control. So you want to start writing these things down. And then we need, we got to get to work, because you can only fix how you feel, or feelings of being unheard in that specific relationship. You can't fix it in one relationship and expect it to spread out everywhere. Or you can fix yourself and lead by the example in which you wish to be seen, heard, experienced, and how you want to see, hear, and experience yourself. And it's going to correct itself, because you're going to develop the vocabulary to be able to bring it to awareness without saying, you don't listen to me, you never hear me, you blow me off, whatever. It's not like that at all, right? Sometimes, there's a whole communication style that goes around it. And so we have to learn that, but we have to know what we're dealing with first. And so for me to coach you, or to give you those tidbits, from where we are in this space, I'm not gonna move into that. I may come in another month or two and talk about communication styles, or dialogue, and how we can repair in our relationships without conflict, by working from within us, so that we can reduce our vulnerability and develop distress tolerance and emotion regulation. But we're not there yet. That's not the lesson today, and I don't want to get it too broad. So it is 3:45, and as promised, I did have the Zoom room open. The link was posted in the news feed yesterday. So if you're not watching from the actual Zoom link and you'd like to hop in, between now and 4 p.m., I will leave the Zoom room open. I will stop recording this session, and I will turn off the live feed, so that anybody that wants to pop in starting right now can do so. In fact, I'm going to stop sharing my screen right now. And so if you go over to the events on Over 40 Fearless and Free, you'll be able to find the link in there. I believe I put it in the discussion, but I do know that I posted it yesterday or the day before in the feed. I can see if I can find it right now. Actually, I can't do that. Dropping it in the chat's not going to help you. Anyway, I want to tell you just how ever so thankful and grateful I am that you have taken the time to listen. And I hope that some of this resonated for you. If you did stick around and listen to the whole thing, I again am going to drop my e-card with some very useful links, as well as how you can reach me, and a free gift. So the free gift is going to be at the bottom of all the links, and right above it says free gift. But I do want you to know, if you want copies of these 2 worksheets that I had up on the screen, you do need to send me an email. You need to send me an email and request it, or you need to send me a direct message in Facebook or Instagram, whatever, so that I can get the information from you where I can send it. I am not going to post them publicly, but I will. For anybody in this group that wants a copy of them, I will make them available to you. And again, I'm sorry that my computer is glitching. I am going to end the live feed now and see if I can figure out how to do that without ending stop live stream. There we go.